today I'm very happy because I'm here with Jose Leal. It's a very special person that I'm meeting during my journey doing conscious contract. So Kim invite me to meeting Jose in sometimes, and so we start to develop a friendship and then a work that I want to share with you. So, Jose, I want you to tell us a little bit about you, a little about your journey, what you doing, used to do, and how we decide to changing, and what is your turning point. So, if you can, so introduce yourself a little and tell us about your journey to going to radical nowadays.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here, and thank you for being willing to speak in English, because my Portuguese is not very good, even though I was born in Portugal. I left there when I was 8 years old. So my Portuguese is, number one, not used very much, and number two, from an 8-year-old's point of view. So it's not very good.
It's not true. He speaks very well Portuguese, and that's something that it's something that warm my heart a lot, because when I'm feel embarrassing with my English, we can talk in Portuguese, so it's very nice.
So my story starts, I'm an immigrant, and so most immigrants struggle, and my family struggled, and we struggled to integrate into this country, in the United States, where I am now. We lived. I grew up in high school here in the Bay Area, in the San Francisco Bay Area, in California, and I immigrated to Canada when I was doing my second startup. And I was young. I was 21 years old when I moved to Canada, and did another startup when the internet started. And that's when I started really working in computers in a big way, and technology. That business that my partner and I started, got bought up by a corporation, a very large corporation in Canada. At the time, it was the largest media company. So it owned 200 newspapers and magazines and television stations and things like that. And I became involved in digitizing the traditional media companies. And that digitization process meant that we were trying to bring people who were very traditionally tied to newspapers and print into a modern world of digital internet. And that work is what I got involved in. So I became vice president of that division and responsible for English Canada. And that was my one and only time that I worked in corporations. Hopefully, I will never work in a corporation. But what happened was that I lost myself. I started to be very competitive with my colleagues, as they were with me. It wasn't an unusual thing. It was just that it was very unusual for me. I never thought of myself as that person. I always thought of myself and felt that I was someone different. But in that environment, I became one of them. And after 10 years, on the way back, I went to let go of some people in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And on my way back, I couldn't stop crying, because I had just flown overnight to let go of a few dozen people that I had never met before. And so that meant me meeting them for the first time, and then letting them go, and then not being able to stay with them and explaining, because I had to fly back to another city to lay off more people. And it was on that flight back, and I couldn't stop crying. And I realized I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't know why I'm doing this. This is not what I want to do. This is not who I am. And yet here I am doing it. Why am I doing this? And it was that flight. I said, I can't. I'm going to resign from my work and resign from the industry. And that was the turning point for me. It took some time to get out of the company because there was legal and financial issues that I had to address. And after I went back to Portugal, I got divorced, my father died, my mother had a stroke, and all of this happened in a very short period of time. So I quit my job and all of these things happened. And I found myself in Portugal taking care of my mother and thinking, this is who I am. This is that was getting back to who I was. And I've spent the last 8 years here in California studying neuroscience and physics and understanding why we do what we do. Why did I do what I did? And why did it feel so wrong for me to be doing it and still I was doing it? And that's really what I learned. I learned two things. I learned that we have a radical purpose in us. We are born with it. And number two, that we, by force, learn to do other things. And then those things we force others to do. And that those two things, one, that we have a radical purpose, and two, that our world is really guided by force. That's the work I'm doing. It's trying to figure out how to spread that word, but also learn how to create new businesses, new organizations that are understand those two realities and are built on that understanding. Sorry for the long thing.
It was amazing, and I'm a little bit curious about who is the guy when you are 21, you are very young, but somehow you choose this kind of tool like digital tools, AT. Who is that guy that choose this? You think it's connecting with when you are a child? So I want to know about who was you when you choose this way, and when you think that the things let me talking a little bit in Portuguese. So eu gostaria de saber a sua conexão entre o José que escolheu trabalhar com mídias digitais, transformar o mundo, né? Because it's again, it's about how I can transform the way that the things that we do. So in analogic and digital, and nowadays you need to transform the work again in another how. So
in another way, yeah. That's a beautiful question, because that was the work for me, was answering that question. Why did I do the things I did was in two ways. There was the way of understanding that what I wanted to do is what caused me to do the things. It wasn't that I decided to work in architecture and then in digital design and then in digital media. It was that the desire I have to create always attracted me to the things that were new, the ability to create new. Whenever there was a new ability to create new, that's what I was attracted to. When I was in school, what attracted me was digital design. I always wanted to be an architect, and it wasn't until I saw digital design that I saw the potential to design buildings we couldn't design easily with digital that we were doing manually. And that started the process of learning technology and seeing the power of technology to improve our lives. that aspect of me, the creative part, that's who I am. And I don't think that I choose anything. It chooses me.
Okay. And so when I love to hear that. And I remember we talking a little about that sometimes, because it's I always want to be, when I think to give up, when I think I'm tired to do what I doing, I need to connect with the person who I am when I was a teenager and choose doing what I do, and why I choosing that. And like you said, I don't know if I choose something, but something that's blowing out of us. And so I don't know. It's be a lawyer, but it's not about being a lawyer actually. So and when you starting your searching about neuroscientists and physicists, and so what do you see that, so how you develop the way that nowadays we know about the radical, you have the all the conception about the radical, so we are connecting to each other when you are develop a book about how we can working with the collaboration. So please let us know about this way.
So the first part was learning that the way we see ourselves isn't the way we are. We have created a lens about who we are that is very different than who we are. And so we see ourselves and each other from this perspective of force rather than this perspective of purpose. And so for me, recognizing that every time I had a feeling that was a negative feeling, it was my purpose saying, this is the wrong way. Something is stopping you, or you are going the wrong way. And not understanding that, I thought, oh, I used force against myself. I am weak. I am not good enough. I am stupid. I am, my colleagues, they can do this work. They can lay off all these people. They don't have any problems. They're okay because they're strong men and I'm a weak man. That's why I feel, I don't sleep for 2 weeks before I do layoffs. That's why I cry on the flight back, because I'm just a weak person. And it wasn't, because I talked to my colleagues after and they all went through the same things. But we were forcing ourselves not to show that true part of ourselves. So we were hiding it with force so that we could pretend to be strong. And that part, understanding that we all feel feelings like that, and that we don't understand them, that we have a perception that these things are not what they are, that they, instead of realizing that they are our power, we think that they are our weakness. That was the first insight. To me, that gave me so much power, because I've always been someone who is very well connected to my feelings, but I never understood them.
You realize that there is a persona, there is an ego that's not you. And this kind of persona, it's a strategy that we using to live in the society that is building for force. So
the society builds that persona for us. We don't build it. Society builds it for us.
Society is build a force, and we need to build in this persona to living in that way. And so the problem when we are confusing ourselves with that persona, that this persona, it's like I think it's something like protect us for this outside world that forces us to think. So something
and
like
so that was a lesson for me as well, because when I think of psychology and I think of ego and id and all of the Freud and Jung way of looking at it, which is what I first studied, it still left me confused. For me. For me, it still left me confused because it created this idea that I was consciously controlling my ego, and I was and when I learned neuroscience, especially the work of a fellow Portuguese, Antonio Damasio, who does work here in Southern California at the University of Southern California. Antonio Damasio's research points to it's not so much that we have an ego as a thing that protects us and that kind of thing, which is a description that we often hear from the psychological community, but it actually seems to be from the neuroscience a collection of ways that we learn to act in order to interact, to fit in society. And so we have these needs, and these needs try to express themselves. And when they try to express themselves, these are life needs. We were born with them. They evolved in us. And as we try to express them, as they express themselves, I should say, what happens is that they see, oh, that didn't work very well. Let me change. Let me behave a little differently. Oh, that didn't work very well. Let me behave a little different. Every time there is force, they try to adjust until they fit. And so when a society is full of force, they keep adjusting until we start using force to fit the society. And so the behavior we have is one of trying to be accepted by our needs, to find the fit in our society. And so those of us who have already a passion for something, that passion gets lost in many ways because it has to fit in a societal thing that already exists for us to be able to express it. And so for me, that insight, that learning of what Damasio describes as homeostatic functions that keep balancing themselves until they fit, until they're in balance. Not in balance necessarily with us, but in balance with the society. But then they're in balance with us. Because if I have to do something that's not who I am, then I'm not operating from my purpose. I'm operating from force. And that was for me a very powerful understanding of what it means to live my life and what it means to live the life I've learned to live.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about the tool that you develop because that is something that is very impressed me a lot about your work, about the person that you are, is that you can materialize that things that it's very beautiful to hear. It's very nice to hear that. And so, wow, it's so good. Someone understand me, understand my sadness, the things that I'm feeling. But and it's nice, but you start to develop a way to put this in the world. So, okay, I understand that. And so how can I doing that? And so how can I put this to working to spread this idea for another person? And please tell me when the radical tools appears in your life and you decide to develop something really material way to do that, to working with your purpose.
So from the beginning, early even 1 year or 2 years into this research, I always designed tools. And they were tools that matched my understanding. And I kept building, understand better, and then I would design a tool for myself.
Okay.
And then I would improve my understanding and I would redesign the tool. And so I've built, I don't know, maybe half a dozen tools.
Really?
And each time that I built that tool, I could see if the tool fit what I understood and where the science that I understood was.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I built the radical purpose profile that, and I tested it with friends and with family, with colleagues, and learned that not only does it match what the science is telling us, but it was matching what people felt.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like, oh, we are very close to something here that can really help people understand themselves. It provides a map of our insides, of our neurological insides.
Mm-hmm.
It allows us to understand what's happening at any point in time to us, but also in our lives. So there are 5 fundamental, I don't know if you want me to go into that right now.
Of course.
Okay. So there are 5 fundamental dimensions of what we call radical purpose. And radical means root. It has 2 meanings. It means root, which is the beginning of something, the seed of something, and also it means fundamental change. And that's why we use the word radical to symbolize this transformation that we are discussing, because it is both a radical transformation of how we see humanity,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes to the root of who we are. And so the 5 fundamental dimensions are being, which is the dimension of the body. It's food, it's sleep, it's rest, it's exercise. All of that is the dimension of the body, our being. We are human beings. And so to be human beings, we need to take care of the physical needs of the body. And there are functions in our body that do that. They make us feel sleepy, they make us feel tired, they make us feel hungry. And when we feel hungry, we start to think about food. And that's our feelings talking to us. That's our feelings saying our body needs energy. Let's get some energy. And so the longer we don't pay attention to it, the stronger the feeling of hunger becomes, the more it calls us to go do what we need to do. The next dimension is meaning. And meaning is understanding the world around us.
Mm.
It is, if you imagine not knowing anything about the world and opening your eyes and seeing things and wondering, what is that? What is that? What is that? Well, that's what a baby feels like. And that part of us learns to understand what the world around us can afford us, can do for us. And it's a very important thing. The interesting part is that each of us has a different kind of being and a different kind of meaning. Mm-hmm. Some of us don't need to sleep as much. Some of us don't get so tired so easy. Some of us don't have to eat so much. Each of us is unique in our being and in our meaning, because what excites us when we understand things is different. Some people are excited by art. Some people are excited by nature. Some people are excited by creativity and new things. And that's me. So the novelty of learning things makes a lot of meaning to me. And I am attracted by new, not by old. That's the type of meaning that makes sense to me. And it matches with my impacting, which is the 3rd dimension. The 3rd dimension is about acting in the world. And so when we act in the world, we do it with the things that have meaning to us. First, we do it with the energy that we have from being. Then we do it with the thing that has meaning to us. And then we do the type of impact that we want to make. And so in the case of impact, for me, I am very strong in creativity. So I want to create things in an environment where I can create. That's what gives me energy. That's what releases the energy that I have in my body, releases it. And that's what I feel when I'm doing it. This tremendous energy to do that thing. And then when I do things I don't want to do, that don't feel right, that aren't energizing for me, that energy remains bottled up inside me. And that's the feeling of, oh, I don't feel motivated. right? It's not having the energy unlocked. We take the cork off that energy,
Yeah.
like we take the cork off of a wine bottle.
Okay.
And the fourth and fifth are belonging, which is once we have being, meaning, and impact, what happens is we now have our behavior in the world, and we attract each other based on that behavior. And so that I like to be with people who have the same meaning, who have the same impact that they want to make. And I want to work with them to make that meaning and impact happen in the world. And so that's what attracts us, is those people, because it's very interesting. It's not until we reach puberty that we actually, belonging is a big piece.
Yeah.
We're attached to our families, but we don't really want to belong too much with the world. And then in puberty, we let go of our families and we become attached to people who share our interests. And so here in school, for me, when I was at that age as a teenager, I got involved with drama and creating sets and stages for plays and designing things of that nature, because I was creating, because that was the thing that excited me, was the opportunity to create. And then lastly, the fifth one is becoming. And becoming is I like to think of it as sort of the slingshot to start again. How do I say slingshot in Portuguese? I can't remember what it's called.
Estilingue.
It's the thing that you make out of wood, and you have rubber.
Yeah, it's a estilingue.
Estilingue. I think in the Azores we have a different word for that.
Maybe.
But it's that energy of, I could do that better. I could learn from what I just happened to me. So I did something, I understood it, I did it, and I have friends that understand it, and I have, oh, wait a minute, I could do that better. And so it's becoming is both a ability to see what has happened from other people and from myself, to have a clarity around, oh, I'm better than this, but that person is better than me at that. And also the ability to say, oh, wow, I want to do this again. That feeling of, I want to do this again, I want to get better at this, comes from that area of becoming. Each of these 5 areas have their own feelings. Each of the sets of feelings that these areas have, we can learn what they mean to us. What is this feeling telling me? And that's the tool. It's not about telling you what your purpose is. It's about telling you how to read yourself, how to see your own map of who you are, because we each are strong and weak in all of the different areas of those dimensions.
Yeah, we have an opportunity to share this too when this interview going to YouTube. That's the reason that we are here, to spread more this idea. And so we developed this tool. It's amazing. I'm really impressed when I do that, because it's making a sense of that, what I do in that thing. So it fit me, it fit a lot to, and calm my heart when I saw that. But again, you want that for the people that working together, and so realize that, because when we are not in connect, we are not aligned with this purpose, we getting sick, and we see that word is completely sick. We just living to, how can I say that, to reacting all the time of this force. And
yes.
it's incredible when we realize that, because we start to wonder to ourselves, why I'm doing that. It's a stroke that it's a strike that I need to do. I need not to answer that. That's the way that I need to acting, or so how can I can I do my things in my way, not to reacting to the world? And so, and I want to asking you about the radical companies. So the books that
Mhm.
that you wrote with your partner, and so, and about to using that not as a tool, of course it's a self-knowledge tool, but how I can do that inside of the companies, inside of organization. And so I want you to share a little bit about what you want to do with that, if you really want to do something with that.
Right. The other lesson I had was that we can't really change ourselves by ourselves because we didn't change ourselves by ourselves in the first place. In other words,
Wow.
when I was born, I was who I was, but it was the world that changed me. It was my experience when I went to school and my family and my culture and my environment. That's what changed me. And to think that I can change myself by myself solely by thinking it or by meditating by myself, I don't think we can. I think we can start there. I think that's the only starting point, but it's not the end point. The end point is actually doing it together. Just as we learned to fit force, we need to learn to fit purpose. And I can only fit my purpose when I am fitting with your purpose. And only when you live with purpose, as you do, Fernanda.
Okay, so
Can I, sorry, I just need to say
no.
that because I feel our connection in that way. I feel the way that we see each other is through our respective sense of purpose of ourselves and each other, rather than seeing force from each other. And I need my colleagues, my community, my friends, my family to be there too, to help me be there.
Okay.
And vice versa, for me to help them be there.
It's connected to two things that I really believe. One of them, it's Ubuntu philosophy, a South Africa philosophy.
Yes.
Yeah, you are because we are. So,
Yes.
and it's connected me when I was a teenager and decided to choose law school, because I really believe that everybody has a space in the world to occupy it, and a space that just fitting on you. So I don't need to be in your space, but it's just possible if you're in a collaborative way, not in a competitive way. So when we are recognize ourselves as ourselves in our purpose, nobody can compete with me, because that is just one Fernanda Guerra.
Absolutely.
And I think this is I feel how can I say
Português.
emocionada because I really believe it, and I think I do what I do because I want to see the people in this way. Like when I see a nature, you don't see a daisy want to be a rose, and not feel worse or better than a rose or another plants. So you are because you are that. Just
exactly.
So, and I recognize myself as a part of this nature, not down or above that. And so how you human beings, we are forget that way to living in this perspective. And so when I hear you, I saw, wow, oh my God, someone believe in that. And so develop things to put ourselves in this way, or recognize ourselves in this way as unique, as authentic. So
and each other.
Yeah.
And each other. And that's the strong part, because it's not an easy road to connect to ourselves again.
No.
If we could teach children to not disconnect from themselves, then their lives would be so much easier than ours. But we've already disconnected from ourselves, and getting back to connecting to that authentic purpose of who we are is not easy. And it's not easy, especially when our habits of being are controlled by force that comes from others. And so every time we are living in an environment that is full of force, we become that force again.
Yeah. And it's incredible because when you're thinking about that, of course, you're thinking about companies and an organization, because in the way that we live in nowadays in the world, we spend more times in a company, in an organization, that we ourselves. And I really believe that human beings wants to living together. It's a necessity that's very hard to belong. We need to belong. And of course, we don't recognize ourselves to belong as a human beings. It's a shame, but I really believe and working for one day we recognize ourselves as a big tribal, a human being tribal. And so, and how when you put this your tool in an organization, what's happened? Did you see something like that? Did you see what's happened?
We don't put it in the organizations. We put it in people.
Okay.
So that's the first part. It's for people to use to help them discover themselves and help them discover each other. The organization is what we're trying to break, not to support the organization. It sounds very, very harsh to say that, but the idea that an organization has more power than a human being, to me, makes no sense.
Yeah, it's true.
So organizations need to emerge from people, not to impose on people, not to control people. And so when we put the tools in the hands of people, people learn about themselves, but then they also learn about what they want an organization to be. And that's the power of understanding our purpose, that we connect with each other and we understand our collective purpose, not the purpose of the organization. We try to give organizations a purpose because they are in control. That's why we want to give them purpose, because we think if they control, they have to have a purpose so that they can have a purpose over us. But we have a purpose. The purpose of an organization is to serve our purpose, not for us to serve its purpose. It's a tool. An organization is a tool. And every tool man has ever made has been made with the intention of that tool helping us, not for that tool to control us.
Yeah, not us to help them.
And that's what we've created in organizations today.
Yeah, completely. Wow. Wow. And so, in what time the people starting to, because it's incredible. We have a group, and every week there is a meeting, and sometimes there is a lot of people, sometimes there is less people. And here in Brazil, we have a small group, and again we are having a meeting every week, and we are there, and there is no force because there is no obligation about that, but it's a sense of purpose that we need to be together and develop something. And so I want to ask you, when does it start? When this movement started? When the people start to getting connecting with that, with you? And it's not just your questions anymore, but how the people can start to join you, or you invite. So how
did it happen?
Yeah.
By accident, as always. I thought that I could help the future of work space with the idea that technology was going to solve the problem. And then when I realized that really radical purpose is the solution, not the technology. The technology is another tool to help radical purpose, not the other way around. I started to work with and communicate with people that were interested in finding out a new way of working, a new way of being. And so the community is really much larger than it seems like, because we are only a dozen or so people that sometimes get together. But there are people around the world that are practicing this idea of radical purpose in understanding themselves, in understanding how they work. And for me, it's not about whether radical purpose, the name, is the important thing. It's about understanding ourselves and giving names to the feelings we have, not names like I am afraid, because we already know those words, but an understanding that fear comes from not becoming, that there is a desire in us, a natural desire in us to become, and that fear is simply this sense of I will not become what I'm going to become. That is what I'm afraid of. And understanding our feelings and understanding to collaborate, that is the message. So we're working with organizations in Mexico and Brazil and in the United States and in Canada and in Italy and in the UK and in the Netherlands. These are all places where people are using some of this information and starting new kinds of organizations and working in existing organizations to transform them in a way that gives an opportunity to reimagine the tool that is an organization.
Okay.
A radical company is a tool that serves our radical purpose. And so how do we do that? And that's a process of learning, and that's a slow process. And bringing these tools that we are developing, which, you talked about, how did I develop our tool? You helped develop our tool. You made it Portuguese, and our team in Mexico made it Spanish, and we're working to make it Italian. So this work it's a collective work. It's not my work. It's the work of all of us. And it needs to be the work of all of us, because if we do it as the work of one person or the work of one movement, it's not going to do it. This isn't about a movement or a brand or anything like that. This is about us. And so we need the language to talk about us and to help us and to build the tools we need. That's all it is. And if the language is some other language that helps even better than the language of radical, that's okay too. That's not the point. The point is us. We will not save ourselves and save the world if we do not understand ourselves. We will continue to do more harm, create more force, and destroy more of nature if we don't understand ourselves.
Wow. Wow, Jose. So amazing what you say. And so you are resume the feelings that we have inside of us. When I can see, when I don't like to using, I don't know in English, how can I say that? Talking about in the third person. that you resume the feelings that I have inside of me. And that's the reason that I'm connecting with the radical purpose. And so we have in 1 hour with the conversation. Again, I want to spend a day with you because actually I'm a lucky person that my way to be connecting with my purpose, I meet you, meet Kim, the people that help me to when I feel this kind of afraid that you said, when I feel hopeless, I hear you, and again, wow. No, I realize who am I, what I want to do, what is inside of me, because we are together in doing that, and this is good.
I don't think you hear me. I think you hear yourself in my words.
Yeah, I recognize inside of me what you said, because if not inside of me, I can recognize. So
Exactly. And that's the beauty of us working together.
yeah, and I just believe in that, to working together. There's no sense working alone. So Jose, I want to you to say, if I want to searching about the radical, where I can find the tool that you said to us, where I can find you. And so that's it, because I really want that a lot of Brazilian people join this group and spread this idea.
So best place to find me is on LinkedIn, Jose Leal, and pretty easy to find, especially if you use the term radical. The other way to find radical is also on LinkedIn. So we have a group for the radical organization. And so if you do a search for radical, you'll find this logo, and you'll find us there. And the other way is to look at our website, which is radicalpurpose.org, O-R-G. And the tool you can find there, but you can also go directly to the tool, which is profile.radicalpurpose.org. And that will get you straight to the tool. It's a work in progress. And, we'd love to have more people help us make the tool even better and improve it. We're still working on connecting the feelings and the different needs. So I'd invite anybody who is interested in learning more to reach out to you, to reach out to us, and to engage in our community.
Yes, Jose, I really want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your generosity to share your ideas, your time, your heart with us in such a long time. So I have the luck to working with you, and it's completely true. We always talking about that in our Brazilian group, a radical Brazilian group, about your generosity and the way that the working develop. So I invite everybody to join us and inserting about the radical. So thank you a lot. It's such
Thank
a
you
lot
for the
of time
opportunity and
for that.
and for your beautiful smile.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Wednesday we are together. Bye.
Adeus.